would recommend this course to everybody. I think it's good for new agents like myself.
I wanted to learn the secret that all agents had, all successful agents had. And I got more than that.
Another day one. Monday, another day one. Start every single day as if it was your first day, and you'll be successful.
Signature!
Good morning, Signature. Welcome to the virtual sales meeting for May 23rd, 2023. I'm here with Chris Bishop, and we're here to deliver a fabulous sales meeting. He's got a whole list of stuff. I got a few items here, and so let's just jump in.
So another Tuesday in the books, and one of the things we've talked about many times is the market and the market stats, and what does the marketplace look like? What should we expect? And I think we all would agree that, you know, there was some turmoil from agents that said the market was crashing, things are going away, we're not going to be able to sell real estate. I think some people were even contemplating getting out of the business, but that's not what we saw. We saw definitely a downturn of offers coming in. We saw a downturn of the listing timeframes taking longer. But this month, they reported that the median price has risen $5,000 back to $430. But what I really think people should look at is that the median price of the listing taken is up almost around $595,000.
Wow.
And so listings that are getting put on the market, and that could be because agents overpriced them, I don't know, but there is a trend where listings coming on are higher than they have been before. And then you saw inventory levels.
Yeah, you know, the big thing, one of the things when we were in Washington, we got to listen to Lawrence Yun, our NAR chief economist, and he talked about things too. And a lot of what we're seeing is people think the market's doing something because they're listening to the news and different things like that. But he said, he asked a question, he said, how many of you thought it was a good market before you went into COVID? And everyone was like, yeah, it was a good market. Yeah. And then, you know, rates obviously went down during COVID and stuff like that for the pandemic, and they've come back. But what he did demonstrate was the rates are basically what they were when we went in.
Yeah.
And so are the median prices. So it's nothing's really changed except for that hiccup. So I think it's what's between your ears a lot that you have
I got
to
something
work
up there. I think you're right. I think the whole point is that the perception is everything, and a lot of times we're led to a misconception.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what I'm more worried about is we're seeing multiple offers again in most scenarios. We're seeing the inventory shrink down again. And as you remember, in that tight inventory, when it got down below 4,000 homes, prices started to escalate drastically. And so we're kind of setting up for another perfect storm. The only difference is rates are a little bit higher, right? But not enough to keep a buyer out of the marketplace, not enough to make the home unaffordable. And so what I'm really noticing too is that 54% of all single family homes are still selling under 30 days, and only 12% of the inventory is taking longer than 120. So that means that, you know, 88%, if I'm doing the math right with my shoes on, 88% is still selling in just a few months. And so it's not horrible for that.
One thing they did also talk about, and this is kind of a national thing that happens, the higher you overprice a home, the longer it takes, and obviously the less money you get for it. It's kind of pretty interesting, the list to sale and all that stuff of what happens. So I think we've got to be better at pricing.
Absolutely.
And if you're pricing them right, they are selling, and they're selling quickly.
And I think that your point, which is so true, that if you have that sit-down meeting with your seller when you're getting ready to put the property on the market, and they're like, well, if I could get $10,000 more, that $10,000 more could cost you 4 months.
Yeah.
And with your house payment and everything else, don't be that person. Median price of a condo is up to $270,000. That's really crazy to me for some reason, because for years in the marketplace, condos were, you know, dramatically underpriced. I remember selling $30,000 condos for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet, and, you know, 30, 40 grand. And now 270 is the median for the entire valley. 58% of all condos are selling in under 30 days.
Yeah.
So it's a very hot condo market, and
Bet you wish you bought a few of those at
I do
20
wish
or
I bought a
30
few of those, all in the same building,
we
so I
only
could
knew,
keep
right?
them together. One of the things that we really are cognizant of, though, and I think that I've been seeing from most of the economists I follow, is that never before has there been such a dramatic amount of equity sitting, holding in the marketplace. I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars of money that sooner or later, the economy, inflation, sheer consumer desire will cause these people to want to turn over. And when we talked about this, probably 6 months ago, you and I had this same virtual meeting. We talked about the fact that people are adding on a little bit of debt. People are remodeling their homes, they're improving properties. And so I think that conversation you need to be prepared for is, what does the consumer do when they get that big chunk of cash? Mm-hmm. Hopefully it's buying more investment properties because we sell homes for a living, but have a plan for what they're going to do with the money.
Agreed.
So I don't know if you're like me, but every day I get 5 or 6 text messages from investors looking to know if I have any flip properties. That's in between the health insurance.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I get the health insurance ones
all the time. And so I want to talk for just a minute about how to turn an annoyance into a positive for your real estate business, because I think people kind of miss the opportunity here. So these investors, every one of them I've now started engaging and talking to and finding out more about them. Turns out it's mainly mom and pop investors who have leveraged themselves into a good cash position. They've acquired some type of program like, We Buy Ugly Houses or Invest for Less, all of these different things that are out there. And they're in the marketplace pounding the pavement trying to find deals. Yeah. And what's funny is we're in a marketplace right now where there's such a need for flip properties to make money that the consumers are pounding the pavement for business versus the realtors, right? I mean, that's where we make our money, is finding deals for any investor that's out there. And so I've never before seen a marketplace where they will literally call you 4 and 5 a day and say, hey, we're looking for property, will you help us? Now, granted, some of their formulas make absolutely no financial sense. Like we went through a transaction just recently where they offered a great price on the house. It was already at a good rate. And then when the repair request came through, instead of it being a few $100s, it was like $50,000, right? And so I think you have to have a lot of diligent conversation before you ever go down the road. But here's what I would do with the list. Are you ready to hear what I would do?
Yes.
Okay, first off.
Because I'm going to stop deleting them.
Yes, stop deleting them.
Stuff.
First off, I would take every one of these texts you're getting, find out the contact information for the investor, find out what their parameters are, and I would start compiling a list of investors that you can go to your sellers and say, hey, listen, as soon as I list this property, I know your concern is that I get an offer, that I'm getting a lot of interest, that I'm seeing a lot of people see the home. I have a whole list of investors that I'm going to take this property to and give right away. And so side effect of that is they're going to find out whether it's well priced or it's in a good position, but you may end up with an offer immediately. And most of these groups are using the agent that sends them the property to pay them commission. So what could be bad about emailing your listings out to a bunch of buyers? Second, I would already find out 4 or 5 of these that are in a rational space as far as their return. Sometimes getting an offer right away is a motivator for a seller, even if it's not the right offer. And so I can't come to you, Brandon, and say you didn't do my job as my agent if you bring me offers on my property. And so by having this list of investors, find the ones that you could solicit a offer from and at least get it in front of the seller right away to say that there are things going on and here's what you could get. And then last but not least, a couple of these investors have been pretty reasonable and they have a product knowledge that they understand and they are looking for something specific. If I really wanted to make some sales happen, I could start creating an archive of what it is they're looking for and market to my other agents around me. Yeah. Because what's more likely, them to get responses from those texts that no one responds to, or from me sending something out to my fellow agents saying, my investor's looking for a 6% ROI, do you have that in your inventory? And so all 3 of those are good ways to do it. Now I will take it a step further. The insurance quotes you get. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, insurance agents need homes too. And so I've started responding to a few of those. Instead of saying, stop bothering me, take me off your list, I responded, I'll buy the insurance if you buy the house, right? Just saying, it doesn't hurt to ask for business.
I just want to know how many dialogues have been open from that.
I've had quite a few. And here's what I found out. A gal just last month, she lives in Florida. She's a licensed Nevada insurance agent. And she has been using these text systems and other ways to drum up business, just like our prospecting for our agents. Mm-hmm. And she's sending out notices and she gets probably 1 out of every 7 or 8 that respond back with something. Some of it's not very nice, she said. But you know, the funny thing is, she is a real estate investor. Like, I got on the phone, I talked to her, I said, "What are your, you know, are you investing at all?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'd buy something if it was a great deal." Again, it's another consumer that sent me their contact info that I can reach out
You know,
to.
that's interesting because we get frustrated when people call and prospect us.
Yeah, right.
Even though that's what we do with the other consumers. And,
Yep.
and it really shocks me sometimes the way realtors respond to salespeople.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a tough crowd.
Yep.
We really have got to be more polite about that. And I like the way you're looking at it in the way of saying, hey, it's a live person on the other end,
Mhm.
and there's an opportunity maybe to get some business out of it. Makes sense.
It does. And I'm going to tell you, about 3 months ago, one of the first times I did this that I wasn't annoyed like everyone else, the gentleman that responded to me was part of a group that is a group of flippers. So there's like probably 20 or 30 people in this group. And at that time, we kind of needed some good inventory.
Mhm.
Now, these are motivated sellers, by the way. I mean, when you flip a property, you go out there, you find your return, you deal with the problem. Sometimes your repair quotes are right, sometimes you're off a little bit. And the last thing that they really want to do is hold on to the home. And so this guy was starting to send me, and he still is to this day, he sends me all of the available flips that they're relisting.
Mhm.
And I usually am getting them while they're in process. I don't know how they do that, by the way. Realtors wouldn't do it that way. But like, I found a property that they offered on. It's not sold yet. It's still in the market under contract, but they're already sending it out, which we can't do as realtors, right?
Mhm.
But they can as an investor because they're not bound by our MLS guidelines. And so I had a whole inventory of properties that haven't hit the market yet. The only thing I'm thinking is, you know, how would I manage an open house on that, right? But I can't because it's not on the market yet. But still, his agent's probably not going to do it. They're probably not excited about it. How could I really like get that out to the consumer to drum up some business on my own?
Start thinking outside the box, and you can really take advantage of this market where others are getting scared and nervous and not working, clamming up, and you could be the one that finds the new niche.
Don't leave me stuck in the box. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some of the other things to stay in the know, and that's the way I phrase this. There's a guideline under our licensing requirements that's called reasonable skill and care, and what it says is that you as an agent should have known everything that everyone else knows. I'll give you a good for instance. About 15 years ago, I went to buy this townhouse up above Cliff Shadows on Cheyenne up there, you know. And when we were touring them, the sales rep said, "Oh, that area down there below your house is going to be a park." And I said, "Really? They're going to put a park in a quarry?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to have grass and trees. It's going to be beautiful." Well, that was 15 years ago, and there's still no park there. So there was an article that come out when I was buying the house that basically talked about the fact that there's no guarantee that quarry below will be a park. And that article was sent out in the RJ, it was on the news. And if I had been selling that to a consumer and I had told them that it's going to be a park, I'm responsible for the fact that everyone knew it wasn't going to be. And so there's some ways that you yourself can stay in the know about things going on. First off, online newsletters. How many do you think you get a month?
You mean different ones, or
just if you had to lump them all together? More than 100?
Yeah, at least. At least.
I think I get probably in my spam and everything else, probably 50 or 60 of them. I've started to go through and actually look which ones are crap, which ones are decent, which ones have good info. And so I'm going to give you a few of them. First off, the Review Journal will provide you with monthly information on the real estate market. And I know it sounds funny, but my parents still read the newspaper in person. Like, they actually get it delivered to their house and it's full of information. It's not the worst thing for like $5 or $6, right?
Yep.
And so you can get an online version. I think it does charge you so much a year. I think it was like $100 a year. You get every RJ article. But just remember, the consumers are watching what is out there. And if you're getting the RJ at home, at least the real estate section, you're getting those news articles, it's always great information for you to disseminate. Apple and Google News, I've signed up for those. Apple News, you get right to your phone. I guarantee you this is not political. I know that there's some things no one wants to hear, but the stories that are out there, they do show up and you should know what they are. Builder updates. So most agents don't know you can actually go to a builder's website, you can sign up on their individual website, and they will actually send you builder incentives across the nation. Like, you know, D.R. Horton's doing a national incentive. They'll send you information on local communities that they have here. And what I like about it is I can take that information and send it directly out to my clients because it comes from the builder, it's reputable, and it shows that I'm in the know on what's going on. And banking updates.
Yeah.
I love those financial newsletters I get that talk about what's happening in the financial market, because let's be honest, I'm not an economist. It's actually said that in the RJ before. Chris Bishop, not an economist,
But a long-time realtor.
but a longtime realtor. And I like to get those things because every time I'm at a consumer's house, they talk about, oh my gosh, the financial crash and what's going to happen. If you have these articles, these are arrows in your quiver that you can use to make that difference. A couple of random newsletters I sign up for. CPE, which is a commercial practitioner's weekly informational site. It sends out a weekly newsletter that talks about the mega multi-billion-dollar acquisitions and where they're going. There's one that's so-so, it's called Trade Briefs, and it provides general information on everything. Like just, if it's in the news or it's happening, it talks about it. It's every day. Then there's one I really like called Morning Brief, or Morning Brew. Have you watched that yet?
Mm-mm.
So Morning Brew takes everything politically. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, doesn't matter who your favorite politicians are or aren't, but it takes everything that's scheduled to be in front of Congress, everything that's being worked on by each house, everything from different parties, and it puts it into a one-page understanding of here's everything in
that's nice.
politics today. So Morning Brew is actually free. You can sign up for it. It's a great, great newsletter to just read in the morning and enjoy.
A couple other ones. I mean, Inman obviously
Inman's
is one.
fantastic.
Sometimes there's a lot of.
Do you still have to pay for Inman though?
You do,
Okay.
you do, but it's a lot of times there's a lot of advertisements in
Yeah.
there too, and so you got to make sure you're looking at the articles, see if it's an ad or not. But another one that just came out by William Swanepoel is realestatenews.com.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so that's another paid subscription, but they've, at least for now, and what they've said is they've committed not to have sponsored articles, that it's
Gotcha.
actually going to be real news, which is good. And then NAR is putting out Navigate with NAR,
Mhm.
which is also a regular newsletter that's coming out. And they're working on an app that will be for the Realtor Magazine,
Uh-huh.
right? Because we get those and we get them stacked up in the office.
Yeah.
A lot of you don't even come in to get them, but there's good articles and good
There are.
information in there. But what they're doing is they're taking that so that you have the ability to say, hey, I don't want the magazine anymore. Just give it to me digitally,
Oh, thank
or
God.
get the magazine if you want it.
Think of the postage they're going to save.
Right?
They'll reduce
And that
from
was the whole thing. And then they said you're able to customize that app based on your interests and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That'll give you the news feed in the app of what interests you through that. So it is your job to be in the know. And there are lots of sources out there. Riz Media is another one.
That's a great source. Yeah.
There are a lot of sources out there to keep you educated. And one that's really close to home, too, is Applied Analysis.
Mhm.
Just the stats and stuff that they put in there. I mean, you should be updating that. No, it's not a newsletter, but it's something you could create to send out to your
Yep.
clients out of there. So,
And I think it's the refurbishment of the content in a way that makes sense for the marketplace. So you find these great articles all over from all these sites. And if you're out there disseminating the information the proper way, by the way, there are some guidelines. You got to give credit to whoever created it. You can't rip off and duplicate like I used to do my, what were they, the book of the week kind of thing.
yeah.
Book reports, that's what it was. You want to make sure and give credit to where it came from. But if you're putting this content out there, there are two agents that I'm not saying that, we've had great working pieces together before, but I follow their information because they put it on every day on a consistent basis. That's what builds groups that follow you.
And one real fun one that I like to watch is called The Hustle.
The Hustle?
Yeah, it doesn't really have to do a lot with real estate necessarily, but it'll have things that affect real estate or finance and
Sure.
stuff like that. But it's also just got some neat stuff on what's happened to this day in history and different things like that. So
I
that's
love the days in
entertaining.
history.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
it's entertaining
That's
to
cool.
me. So
All right, so now on to some broker items that we got, and I think this one's kind of interesting because it's come up a few times, and I want to make sure that we provide you with the proper resources as the company. So the question was, when pricing a property, how do I decide what the extra options are worth? Meaning, every other home in the neighborhood has a 2-car garage, and I have the third. Or every other home has just a blanketed backyard, and my client put in a gorgeous pool. Or, I love this one, city views. Some people have a rooftop view, some people have an obstructed view, and some people have no view. And so how do I kind of adequately assess when I'm listing the property what those things are worth? What are your thoughts? And then I'll tell you mine.
well, I mean, the way I was taught was to try to find some homes that
Like
are similar, even if it wasn't the same as your home. Find two that are similar with the other thing and try to find out the difference there. But I don't know. I think you got a secret coming.
I have a little bit of a secret. So I agree with you. I think all of us were taught, two ways you price home is like product that I have multiple comps, and then it's the price per square foot strategy. So I find things in similar price per square foot, in similar conditions, similar areas of town, and I kind of take their price per square foot and I back out some numbers. My only problem with the price per square foot strategy is I'm not an appraiser.
Yeah.
And so when I just stick random numbers onto things, I could be causing a false narrative to happen where I'm saying that their pool that they paid $100,000 for, that was the most amazing pool ever constructed, I can't just run out and say, oh yeah, $50,000 for a pool, because it doesn't adequately assess the product. And so a couple of things you can do. I know multiple appraisers in town have pricing analysis sheets that they will give you that actually give you what an appraiser would put a range on. And the range is the big word. Pool between this much to this much.
Yeah.
When it comes to garages or bedrooms. Now, if we're arguing with Janet on what constitutes the bedroom, that's a whole other series. We'll give you that later. But if we're talking about the value in the home, there is a way to go and see what other 4-bedroom homes are getting. But if I already know the home's price per square foot and my home's bigger because of that bedroom, I can actually answer that question. RPR, which you talked about a little bit, Realtor Property Resource, they have a CRM product in there that will allow you to go in and manipulate the market and tell them about, the market's really hot, it's really high inventory or low inventory, here are the things that we're seeing, and you can go in and actually add and subtract things.
So I would just say
gives you
make
value.
adjustments, not manipulate.
Correct. I saw that in my news article. Wrong word.
Wrong word.
That was the political one, manipulate.
Yeah.
But all of those things are resources that I use to kind of assimilate the value. Now, here's how I cheat a little bit. A lot of agents never go in and use the automated value models.
Yeah,
They don't go and print the realist report. They don't go onto Zillow and check out the home strategy pricing it does. I take all of those together and then I go into the details and find out what tax records properties that they use. And that's how I would usually combine them to make my opinion of value on a property. And it's a third party that took responsibility for the assessment of what they said it was worth.
I also heard something not that long ago to actually bring in those automated values, the one from all the companies out there.
Yep.
Because they're looking at them online anyway, you're a consumer, and so just don't hide behind them, bring them out.
Yeah, be the first
A
to
lot
talk
of
about
thing,
it.
yeah. That's the thing. And then I think the other thing is pricing a pool. Doesn't it depend on the time of year? Like right now, they're worth a lot.
Sure.
Yes,
When it's
heating
frozen
up.
over, it's not worth very much.
Right? So
What's the difference between the pool and like a spa that they think is a pool because they didn't want to pay for a pool? I've seen all of that. But I think your important point that you made was range. I don't decide the price of a property ever.
Yeah.
I decide in the range that the client is looking to price the property. And so that's why I think having all of that stuff on the table and saying, here's how I got to this, Mr. Seller and Mrs. Seller, where would you like to price based on what you're seeing? And that's usually the answer to that question.
and it's always easier to start pricing a home if you have an idea what the seller thinks it's worth.
Correct.
A starting point that you can start to justify off
Yep.
of. So
And by the way, to our earlier point, don't be the overpriced listing in the marketplace. There's a way to actually get there in reverse is I take the perfect buyer for the home that is in the price range that's out there looking, and I use things like Real Scout and other products to say where the buyer's at,
yeah.
and then I bring them to the property based on the way I priced it out. And so another way to do it.
Lots of tools these days, back when
Lots
there
of
was
tools,
only,
just don't be one.
when there was a book, it was a little harder, but now you got the internet, you got all kinds of things and apps and everything else to help you.
So last thing on my list, and I think it's something that, I don't know, I deal with it every single year. I've lived here all my life in Southern Nevada. It's the heat fatigue, causes realtor fatigue. And what I mean by it is people don't want to go outside when it's 110. They want to stay in their air-conditioned office. They don't even want to leave the house. And so I do think that we go into this depression sometimes when we get these extreme heat cycles here in Southern Nevada. And all I want to say to the agents that are out there is don't let it happen to you. Find ways to stay motivated, find ways to stay dehydrated, but find unique ways to get business because other people aren't willing to do it. I have a good buddy that door knocks every single day for his real estate business, and he still puts on a suit jacket at 110, and he door knocks those houses, and if he makes it the whole street, before dropping, he business. Like they're thinking, why is this guy out here? He must be, really committed or needs to be. And they answer the door, they let him in, they have great conversations, and he sells houses. So don't let the heat and the market cause you from not being productive.
Yeah, we experience that here, and then other markets experience extreme cold.
Yep.
When it's snowing and different things like that. But Chris is right. I mean, you got to find a way or a reason to go to work every single day. And there's the offices are air conditioned
Yes,
most
they
of
are.
the time, and so you can always come in and make calls. You can always do other things like that to help generate some business out of here.
Yeah.
And then
Couple of other pieces on that is it is important for you to stay dehydrated.
Dehydrated or
Hydrated. No, stay hydrated. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I meant. So don't forget, when you're showing your clients, put some water in the car. I used to freeze the water and wrap it in foil so that when it would be in the car and we're in the house, it'd start thawing out so that they had nice ice cold water. If you have the feature on your car to electrically start the car while you're in the home showing it, just remember to lock the car so someone doesn't steal it while you're in the house, right?
That's happened.
These have happened. Not to me, thank God, but they've happened. But just be cognizant of it, and I think you're right. If you're not wanting to go out in the heat, there are so many activities you could do here in the office that could lead to some success, for sure.
Fun stuff.
You had a fun week
Summer's here.
last week. Tell us where you went.
So I was in Washington, D.C.
Ooh.
And every year NAR has mid-year legislative meetings. We missed you there this year.
My first year admin in a decade.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I don't get really excited about traveling to a lot of these trips,
Yeah.
but that one I do. I like the politics of it. I like the energy of Washington, D.C. I like the legislative meetings.
And it's a beautiful city.
It really is.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out walking. It's
Yep.
so different than here. I mean, yeah, there are people walking on the strip, but that's a different type
Yeah.
of experience. But there, I mean, people are walking. That's kind of a lifestyle. So if you've never lived in a city like that, which I haven't, I really like it.
That's one of the DC, Maryland area is the most expensive area in the country to live, they say.
Yeah.
I was floored by the average price. It's like several $1 million.
Yeah, we were having some fun as we were driving in the Uber back to the airport. We were on the apps and trying to figure out what the prices and stuff, and some of the rents were just crazy.
I've seen, yeah.
Yeah, but so that was good, and I had the pleasure of being there for an entire week because I'm vice chair of Idea Exchange Council for Brokers.
Do they have an acronym for that?
Yeah, they call it IDX, which doesn't make sense because there's an IDX, right?
Yep.
But no, Karen out of Georgia, she chairs it, and it's a tremendous experience to be on that. And we got to put together a whole presentation for our committee meeting, and we had a gentleman come on and talk about financing in today's market. And I always used to believe, hey, you're the agent, focus on the agent stuff, let your lender be the lender,
Sure.
right? And he opened my eyes to a lot of things. It was like, that the agent has to know how to do the loans, but they need to know the loan products out there.
Yeah, understand the process.
Because the more stuff that you know out there, the more educated you are and more armed you are to help your consumer, and maybe even create buyers or sellers in the market that
Sure.
may not know they're able to buy. So that was pretty good stuff. And then obviously I had to stay till the end because it was part of the NAR board.
Yeah.
And they did pass a few things. It was Kenny Parcell, who's our president this year, is the first board member
From our region.
From the great state of Utah.
Yep.
And just a great guy.
Yeah,
I think
really
he's
is.
probably going to go down as one of the most loved presidents ever because I don't know
On a
how he
national
does it.
level.
Yeah.
Not on the local.
Well, I'm not in contention.
Oh,
anymore,
yeah.
But anyway, because he really knows people's names and
He
he
does.
really cares, and you can see that. And,
Great
and
sales skill, right? For a
Yeah.
salesperson to understand.
He embodies what it means to be a realtor.
Yeah, he does.
And they've got the writing with the brand. They got the blue bus and stuff, and that's going to be coming out here.
Did you
in
get your
November.
belt buckle?
I've got 4 of them.
Don't wear them all together.
I can't wear any of them yet. But the Riding with Brand bus is going to make a stop here in Vegas.
Yeah, I just heard. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it'll be pretty neat. So it'll be a quick stop on their way out to Anaheim in November.
Just to explain why that matters, and the whole thing that they're trying to do is bring attention to the fact that realtors are more than just salespeople. They're there for stability. They're there for ethics and training and a higher level, because a lot of states have licensees and realtors, and licensees in some states there's more licensees than there are
Real
realtor
prominent,
members.
yeah.
And so some, they just don't do business the same way we do in Nevada. And so they're taking that bus, trying to hit almost every state they can.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. And they're giving away a motorcycle.
Yeah, so they're
Riding
giving
with
away
the brand motorcycle,
2.
right? 2 motorcycles.
He announced out in D.C., Kenny did, that they just secured a second Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
And it's all blue with the Realtor R on it and stuff. And they're giving that away. You donate, I think it's a minimum 25 or $50 to the Realtor Relief Foundation,
yeah.
and you're entered in to win that.
They're not just trying to spend your dues dollars. It was a great way to get the 1+ million members to actually get involved. They had to get their attention, and so they were pretty incredible.
Yeah, and 100% of the proceeds go to the Realtor Relief Foundation.
Yeah, which is great group.
It really is. But when you look at that, and he talks about the Realtor brand and branding, I think we don't do a good job as realtors of being actually really proud of the brand.
Sure.
And putting that out there so that, and marketing that,
Yep.
right? Because like you said, there is a difference. In a lot of other markets, you're really competing with that. Here,
Yeah.
we still have non-realtor licensees. They don't actively sell.
Like
as much.
timeshare agents are or non-realtor licensees.
Yeah.
The builder reps are non-realtor licensees in some cases. I think there's 29,000 total licensees total, and there's 21,000 realtors.
So that's a lot that aren't.
Yeah, like 8,000 members.
And here we've just got this impression that they're all referral agents,
Yeah.
but they are licensed to sell
Yep.
anywhere in the state of Nevada.
They are.
And so that's a big thing. And then we're always looking for the next thing to post on social media, right? I see agents subscribing to different people and
Newsletters.
creating stuff, newsletters. But no, paying people to post stuff on their things. And NAR came out with a relationship with Photofy a couple years back. And it's NAR or Photofy.NAR, NAR.Photofy. But anyway, it's free and there's all kinds of content in there. And it's customizable that you can put your picture, your company logo, your license number, all that stuff
That's
on
awesome.
it. So you don't have to create the content. It's all there. And I don't think a lot of people are utilizing that.
I would agree.
They also have some other websites like competition.realtor. They've got conversation starters and different things like that to really show what a realtor does in a transaction and why we're necessary. And
Sure.
this has done a lot to put out the right message based on those lawsuits and stuff like
Over
that.
the compensation models
Yes.
and things like
and
that.
so it's helping the consumer and us understand how that all works
Yeah.
and why that is. It's really neat too on competition.realtor. They have, it just came out and it's updated. It's 179 ways agents who are realtors are worth every penny of their commission.
Wow.
And so there's 179 ways in this pamphlet, which is printable, and you can use it in your listing presentation and everything else to justify your commission and show why there's value there, which I think is pretty awesome.
I think you're right, because a lot of times what I see coaching and training agents is sometimes the reason why they don't get the commission they want is because they don't even feel they're worth it, right?
Yeah.
They don't understand all of the things that they just do because they're great people. And I love the way that article brings out like so many things that we don't even think about are happening because we're involved in the transaction. On the Photofy thing though, just because you brought it up, I've seen an issue happen, not with Photofy, but there are the branding companies out there that are contacting agents through spam and different formats, and they're asking you for $50 a month or $300 a year or whatever, and they're going to take care of all of your social media posting. And the problem with that is that they're taking over your posting profiles and they're putting stuff up
You're responsible.
that isn't acceptable under our real estate division standards. And so we just had 2 issues, not with our company, thank God, but at the board, where someone used this service, they didn't post their license number, and the agent got automatic $500 fines. And now their defense is, well, it wasn't me, it was this service over here that I hired, and the division didn't care because you gave them access to your name.
Yeah.
And so you got to be really careful that anything you sign up for on any of those, if they're not part of the Realtor brand, they're not going to care about your local division standards. And that is a huge deal.
It's a big deal. And here's the thing, understand that Photofy doesn't post your site, right? It's going to give you the content to do it.
So that you know it's compliant.
You know it's compliant, you make sure it's done, and then you schedule it to go out.
Yep.
And all of us should know how to schedule it to go out on our own sites.
Is there a site that tells me about that?
We'll have classes for that. But they have an app for that.
They have an app for that.
Because it's important that you control the message that you want going out there. And that's a lot of why they've created competition.realtor. They want proactive storytelling and powerful content and thoughtful responses and stuff like that. Because they're doing a good job defending us and defending the right to earn commission in the court of law. And it's our job as realtors to defend us in the court of public opinion.
I love it.
And so a lot of that's what we're putting out there. The other neat one was the difference.realtor.
Difference.realtor.
thedifference.realtor. And they've got a lot of marketing things there as well that you can utilize. A lot of things you can put in your listing presentation.
Oh, okay, so like pamphlets and things about why
Yeah,
realtor and what we do.
pamphlets, flyers, all kinds of stuff like that that go over. I mean, one that I was looking at this morning was it's actually the difference between a non-realtor licensee and why it's better to use this.
Probably be a good presentation piece in my buyer presentation too, to explain the person who's a sales rep at the builder versus me as their representative and why they should have me as part of the deal.
100%.
Yeah.
And I just think it's big. And then the other thing is with the way these lawsuits are and the way I foresee and everything I'm hearing across the country, we're foreseeing that there's going to be a change in how commissions may be paid or different things like that. It's not that we're going away or anything else, but we have to do a good job of presenting that. And one of the things we've got to get better is listing buyers.
Yep.
Basically getting buyer agency agreements or agency agreements signed and being hired. And so you got to show your value to do that.
It's funny you say that, because when we were talking about those random investors that are out there, the first one I talked to, I let the investor know, I'm not looking for anything for you unless you're willing to sign an agreement with me. And the response was, well, I'll sign an agreement with you on anything that you bring me, but understand I have multiple agents. At least before we started anything,
You're having a conversation.
The rules of engagement are defined. And I was really surprised, because I think a lot of agents would have just figured, no, there's no way you'll get any exclusivity with that person. Investors who are trying to make money have no problem paying the agent for finding the deal. They just want an agent to work with them to find a deal.
Yeah, they just don't want to be tied down to one person that's not going to work for them.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing is, if you're not going to go out and look for stuff or you don't understand how to find it, then don't engage with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But where I was going with that is I would challenge every one of our agents to go out and get the ABR designation.
Oh, that's a great designation.
The accredited buyer representative course. There are always scholarships down at LVR every year to get these designations stuff. I think this is a 2-day deal.
Yeah.
And I think your dad Keith actually teaches it.
He does.
And so I've been talking to him about maybe doing something on a company level. But I just think that would be something, if it were me and I was out there, I'd really want to start looking at some of these designations that's going to help you in your business.
And people always ask, I will say honestly, out of all of our broker pool, I have the least designations of anybody. And it's not that I don't see value, and I think that's the misconception. It's just that some of the times the classes just always were random schedule. And what I love to look for in a designation, like I took the 8-hour VA rep course where you become a military relocation expert, things like that. I did that so that when I went to relocation companies, I had this certification behind me that said I have a knowledge of this business part of it. What I love about ABR that I've seen and the parts that I've taken of it is that it really does give you the content to create your buyer presentation. It gives you the content to empower your buyer conversation. And so I think that, don't have 35 designations, sorry, Vandana, but you can absolutely find the ones that make sense to you. You don't have to go to every class.
Yeah, and I mean, unless that's what you enjoy. Like
there are some people that enjoy it.
I'm impressed when somebody goes through and does all that stuff. But to me,
I like their business cards. They just keep going on and on and on and on.
It's their email signature. I have SFR, which was during the downturn in the market, and it was an easy one-day thing to do, and I did it. And that was really the only one I had for a long time. Now I have the diversity one.
I'm going through that one. Just coming up.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, because we've got to understand how to have those conversations and different things in our market, and understand what fair housing is all about and everything else. But so there's that one, and then one I've been working on for years, it's always been a personal goal, is CRB, Certified Residential Broker, and I'm so close. So I'm going to commit to get that one done. But there's a few that are there, and then there's a new one out on finance, on the programs and different things like that. So I think I'm going to look into that one. But I'm going to add a few to it. It won't be enough to affect my business card, but I'm going to step up and do some of that. The other one is not a designation, but it's what's called an endorsement. And it's an endorsement by NAR. It's called C2EX.
I'm almost done with mine.
Are you?
And the cool thing about C2EX, you can do it right on your phone. It's a series of informational tutorials that ask you questions, kind of like, like you read something and you test out of it. If you have a Coinbase account and you want to learn about crypto and you go in there, it rewards you for little things, right, as you learn. It kind of reminds me of that, but it's kind of like a cool experience. I heard a friend of ours just got it done within 4 hours. Like they sat down straight and went through the whole thing and knocked it out. But I got a lot out of it, like just the little conversations that they have. like make me think of things that I didn't think of before. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you knew it before, but you just don't think of it.
Yeah, and you got to use that muscle in between your
Yeah.
ears there. But yeah, it asks you some questions at the beginning.
Was that directed at me?
No,
Okay.
it was directed at me. I'm getting up there in age. No, it asks you some questions, and based on how you answer that, it creates what learning lessons
The
you
content
need,
pieces,
right?
yeah.
And so my C2EX endorsement won't be the same as Chris's or anyone else's because it's really customized to what
Caters to you.
you need. So I think that's pretty cool, and so I'm working on that one too, just because that's a big challenge, and they're wanting that for a national committee and stuff like that.
Not only that, but they, Janet, if you remember last year, Janet had an actual C2EX meeting in the office where she invited multiple agents to come in and do it together. And the reason for that is there's a massive push nationally to make us all better. What's the phrase? High tide raises all boats.
There you go.
I love using that one. But the idea was to get as many signature agents done through that so that we can show that we're committed to it.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd leave you with too is NAR. I mean, we not only pay them dues all the time, but they actually have a list of resources and a plethora of information that can really help us in
Yeah.
our business. And one thing that I learned about actually when I was in Kansas City at the broker thing was that they have a full library.
Mhm.
And a library of ebooks and audiobooks and all kinds of things that is available to us as members.
Sure.
And all you got to do is go to nar.realtor and just look for the library link.
Yep.
And you've got all kinds of stuff that you can access in there to help you in your sales skills and everything else. So I just think we need to take more advantage of the tools that are provided that are in your membership dues. And
It's true because the whole thing is with those sites, there's a lot of little pieces of stuff that agents are looking for right now where it gives you how-tos and tutorials. One thing that you brought up on .realtor is that you can actually take your name, .realtor. So if you are looking for an extra domain for your site, things like that, they're trying to get a lot of pull behind .realtor instead of .com. And so I went on just not too long ago and my name was taken, but I was able to add my middle initial and it's all mine now. That it was a good thing to add for my business because I plan on doing it in the next 30 years. Why not have it?
yeah, no, it's great. So I was lucky years and years ago to get BrandonRoberts.com.
Wow.
And
Who knew it would be this famous?
I know I've actually had somebody offer to buy it.
Oh.
Brandon Roberts, the lender out of California. I said, not a chance.
Not a chance.
But I think that's really what I had, some takeaways and stuff like that. I know in the next couple sales meetings we're going to have at Spanish Ridge because we've got one at the end of
Yes.
the month, which was an extra. And then starting on the regular schedule, the first. And I think those next two, she's going to give some updates on what she got from DC and stuff like that too. And she always takes better notes than
Yeah,
me,
there's a big difference between you and I going and then Janet going because the difference is, you and I go and we participate. Janet goes and takes copious notes. Like I can see the flames coming out of her pencil as she's taking
I've
them.
never seen her move so fast.
But yeah, next week at Spanish Ridge, I believe her intent is to have a panel to go really deep into a lot of the things that are out there that we're not hearing about. Janet sits on risk reduction, and she always comes back with one or two lawsuits that we want to avoid and things that we should be doing. So it'll be a good meeting.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Appreciate you guys all attending this virtual meeting with Bishop and Roberts here.
That website's not taken yet.
Realtor.
All right, well, have a great week. Thanks so much.
All right, see you guys.